does it benefit us? And on behalf of Women Economic Forum, this day I would like to confer the award Exceptional Leader of Excellence to you. And now the stage is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhirami. Firstly, good morning, everybody. My name is Shweta, and it's such a pleasure to be here. And I look forward to listening to everyone speak. I'm super excited for the lineup today. So the topic I'll be talking about is slow fashion and how it benefits us. So here is a picture of me as a child. So I'm showing you this picture because we as a culture have always believed in preserving and passing down our textiles. But in the recent past, something has changed. And that is because we have become more and more consumerist in nature. So I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, but we have a wardrobe full of clothes, yet nothing to wear. That is the advent of fast fashion. So what does fast fashion really mean? I would be covering more on that in my speech today. So typically, a fast fashion brand is a brand that rips off high-end brands, and they try to create affordable, and they try to create something affordable and provide it in a less frame of time, because of which we as customers are super excited to pick these pieces up and to wear them. So the fast fashion model works on the take, make, and waste model. We take from our environment in abundance. We make these clothes with zero consideration to people who make them. And since we purchase them at such cheap prices, we wear them once or twice, and then we dispose them off. So to put this into perspective, we currently use 150 billion new pieces of clothing every year. So for every second that is passing, one truckload of garments are being dumped into a landfill. So that is the way we're consuming at the minute. So basically, it's been, 1 minute since I've spoken, and 2 Olympic swimming pools worth fabric has been dumped into a swimming pool at this time. So why is this happening, and what does fast fashion even mean? So fast fashion is quick, cheap, and disposable way of creating trendy clothes. So how this is different from high fashion is that high fashion usually has 2 seasons of fashion, which is the spring, summer, and fall, winter. So in these 2 seasons of fashion, usually a designer would go through an extensive design process. So they would design, and then they would procure fabrics. They would have trial and tests on what works, what doesn't work, and this entire process could take up to a year. But a fast fashion brand, what they do is they pick these designs up from the runway, they quickly rip them off, and they provide them to customers. So fast fashion brands like Zara, H&M, Forever New, 24, Forever 21, all of these brands have 52 seasons in fashion, which means that weekly they'll have a new collection for you. And the process they follow is they look at high fashion brands, they note down that, okay, this is popular, and let's create this. So to give you an example, I'm sure all of you would be aware of the Balenciaga shoes, socks shoes that got really popular. So when these shoes released first, they retailed for $800. And just within 48 hours, Zara was able to rip them off and create something very similar for just $40. So this is how fast fashion works. And because they have to create efficient, cheap, and cheap clothes, what they do, cheap and affordable clothes, what they do is they source to second and third world countries. So obviously, second and third world country manufacturers are notoriously known to make their employees and workers work in a very bad environment, and they pay them pathetically. And a very common incident that took place, I'm sure a lot of you are aware, is of Rana Plaza, which was a garment factory that collapsed in 2013. This was in Dhaka, Bangladesh. So this factory housed way too many people working in pathetic conditions, such that the building couldn't take the weight and it collapsed. And these situations take place very often even today, and are underreported, or people don't really care much about them. These factories also have shadow factories. So if a brand audits these factories, that's the bare minimum they can do. These factories go ahead and use shadow factories, which are completely unaudited. So we have no idea about the working conditions and what fabrics are used. Are they made clean? It's completely unaccounted for, and we actually are consumers of these fabrics unknowingly. With the advent of fashion, another thing that grew is the use of polyester. So if you notice, these days you're sweating a little more than you used to. That's because more than 50% of the garments you're wearing today are made in polyester. Other than not being breathable at all, polyester has a lot more negative impacts on the environment, such as the one being it's completely non-biodegradable in nature. So every piece of polyester that is being made, that has been made till today, is still on Earth unless it was burnt. Secondly, when polyester is washed, it gives out microplastics. So these microplastics from our water systems, from the washing machines, enter our oceans. These microplastics are then consumed by the fish in the ocean, and then we consume the fish. In a recent study, it is said that 1 in 4 fish have these microplastics within them. This is not just harmful for the environment, but extremely harmful for our health. And it's also said that these microplastics are actually much more harmful for the environment than a proper sheet of plastic. Secondly, polyester is the most energy extensive fabric. So it consumes a lot more energy than most other natural fabrics like linen, silk, and cotton. The contrary of whatever I mentioned here is slow fashion. Slow fashion is all about sourcing ethically, making people who work and make these fabrics work with fair wages and get to work in proper environments of work. I think intrinsically Indians have always believed in slow fashion because we love our Banarsis, we love our mushroom fabrics, we love our textiles, and we carry them with pride. We preserve them, we pass them on, and even till today in weddings, we stick to our tradition and we pick up textiles that mean something to us traditionally and culturally. Another movement which was super famous and I think is very representative of slow fashion is the Swadeshi movement, which was a Gandhian movement. What he did was he asked Indians to dispose of foreign textiles and weave their own khadi. So I think that was the epitome of slow fashion back in those ages. Another initiative that I would like to discuss today is a new age initiative, which was brought about by Miss Bandhana Tiwari. She was the former editor-at-large of Vogue India. So she picked out a few textiles from, I'll show you pictures of them. So she picked out a few textiles from different parts of India. She went to tiny villages, she spent time with these weavers and artisans, and she picked up textiles and she passed them on to 32 international designers. So here this project was called Project Renaissance, and the findings and the creations of this project are just amazing. And I would like to share these with you. So the first piece of fabric, which is the Maheshwari silk, don't know if you can see, yeah, was sent to Burberry. Maheshwari silk comes from Madhya Pradesh, and Burberry, I'm sure all of you are aware of the Burberry trench. They made an Indianized version of the Burberry trench using the Maheshwari fabric. They still use their color, and they stuck to their design language, but they made this beautiful jacket. Secondly, Gucci used the Gujarati Patola. This beautiful piece of fabric is only made by 2 families in India today, the authentic Gujarati Patola. And it's a very scientific method, which is done with a double dyed ikat way. It's very difficult to do. And this fabric is extremely valuable as well. So the story behind this fabric is that when the creative head of Gucci got this fabric, he didn't want to cut through it. So they just made a single stitch and made a resort wear off-shoulder dress that looks like this. Secondly, Ferragamo made these Banarasi brocade shoes. Missoni used Lucknowi chikankari. Sorry. Lucknowi chikankari to make a dress inspired. DKNY used the Bishnupur Baluchari silk. So if you can see the dress over here on this side. So Baluchari silk is known to weave a story from one of the Indian epics. So this particular one has the Ramayana woven into it. This is a beautiful piece of fabric. I would highly recommend, if you can get your hands on it, you must. It takes a lot of effort to make this textile, and the results are simply stunning. The next one I would like to talk about is the Rajasthani Bandhani, which was done by Louboutin, which was done by Roberto Cavalli. This over here. So this was made from a single sari. The bandhani works in such a way that a woman extensively, like tirelessly, sit on the floor, take mustard seeds and tie-dye them individually. So they take each mustard seed, put them on the fabric and tie them with a thread and then individually dye them. This is obviously a very difficult technique and a very time-consuming one. The smaller the dots, the more valuable the fabric. Then there was a Hermes scarf made using the Bengali kanta. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this style. It is super famous in India. So the story of the kanta is such that it was basically used by poor people back in Bengal when they couldn't afford the expensive zardozis. So what they used to do is they would pick up scraps of cloth that they had. They would use borders of their saris, whichever colored borders they had. They took threads from it and they made a top stitch in a way that it connected all kinds of scrap fabrics. This was a tradition that came about whenever a newborn was born. The newborn was welcomed in this piece of textile. And I think it's very ironical that one of the most luxurious brands in the world today has used the poor man's stitch to make this scarf. So why I'm talking about this project is because I really feel it's representative of what a designer can do with slow fashion today, and is a very strong message. What I think designers should do, and me as a designer, I own my own studio. It's called Shrita Studio, and we do the same thing. I think it is our responsibility to be able to work with artisans and create